Live from the Business RadioX studio, welcome to Time Well Spent with Julie Hullett, your source for inspiring stories of busy people who have made more time to do what they love. Now, here's your host, Julie Hullett.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am so glad you're here today to hear from Andrea Farr of Nashville Geek. She is the co-founder and project lead, and along with her husband, Scott, who's the co-founder and senior developer, they do WordPress website development, design, and programming. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's our pleasure. Well, you and I have known each other a little bit. We go way back, and you might remember that in 2012, we met at a Mike Dooley conference here in Nashville. We were seated by each other at a table, shared notes, found out we had some mutual friends. Mike Dooley is best known for his philosophy and a book he wrote called Thoughts Become Things. So fast forward, I hate to say how many years it's been. Do you think that thoughts become things? Has that been your experience?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
What's an example of that?
Oh, goodness. I put a lot of intention into my thoughts. I think that's a very important part of my well-being and where I am today, being very intentional about what I do as well as my thought processes. So just trying to envision, 10 years ago where I would have been now today with Nashville Geek. I certainly think we were thinking those thoughts and dreaming those dreams when we sat next to each other almost a decade ago. And here we are.
Yes, I believe in it 100% as well. I mentioned earlier that you and your husband work together from home, I might add, correct?
Correct. Although we are getting back to our office very shortly. I cannot wait.
Well, I know that when people are in a house that's being remodeled that live together, the first rule is to put away all the weapons. So I would ask you, what is the first rule when you work with your husband in your house with 3 children during a pandemic?
It's been exciting, and that probably would have been a very good rule to implement early on, but we made it through. I think for us, it's been, again, intentional about our time, intentional about having those boundaries of when it's work time, when it's family time, being able to shut off the technology in the evenings is very important to us, and really getting that family time has been key. A lot of outdoors time for me. That's what got me through being at home for 2 years through a pandemic with 3 kids and working with my husband. Absolutely. Lots of outdoor time.
I have so much admiration for you. You're a brave woman for sure. So tell us a little bit more about Nashville Geek. How you find your clients, what one thing I'm dying to know, but you can get to this in a minute, is how long a development project takes, a web development from start to finish. Okay.
Sure.
So get to that, if you will.
Sure. So we started Nashville Geek. We're actually celebrating 10 years. So we're a decade in at this point, although my husband and I have been developing websites for much longer. I've been in the marketing, advertising, creative side of things since I arrived in Nashville in 2001. And it's been a very natural progression. I started in video and photography production, learned very quickly that I enjoyed the business side of working with those creatives and setting up their websites, managing their websites. And so we launched Nashville Geek in 2012. So we're celebrating that 10-year anniversary, and it's certainly been a whirlwind. Our typical projects take about 10 to 12 weeks from start to finish. Mm-hmm. I actually don't have a magic number of how many websites we've developed in the past 10 years, but it's quite a few.
That would be good information to have. What's the most challenging piece of managing people's expectations? Because our culture is so instant gratification driven. And
Absolutely.
When you tell me 8 to 10 weeks, I get cross-eyed, impatient even. So how do you manage that?
Sure. So I think it's just being very honest and open about that from the beginning, and then just talking them through the process. We are very instant gratification. People want things to be done quickly and right away. They certainly think that websites are just kind of a flip of a switch. So I think it's just educating them about the process, the technical side, the logistics side, the content development side, the optimization. There's just a lot of steps to get through to make sure that that's built properly. The foundation is solid and secure. We're building for the future, and that we've thought through every step of the way. So I think it's just a lot of communication, a lot of geek speak and geek education along the way, for sure.
When geek speak is definitely one of your strengths. I often have to have a translator, and you're my translator when I'm talking to other technical people. So it's a wonderful thing. I mentioned the kids earlier, and you talked about, blocking off time that's non-technical. So how does that work out? Well, I guess maybe a better question is, what's a typical day for a mom who's an owner of a company who works at home with children?
Yeah, well, I hit the ground running, obviously. We're up by before 6. The first wave of kids start leaving at 7. They're all out by 8. And then we are, up and running at the computer on Zoom most of the time for, a good part of the day. I do try to, I really try to block out, because I am the production person, but I'm also we're lean right now with just the two of us. So I'm still doing a lot of the work as well. So I really try to block my time in the mornings for meetings. Afternoon is dedicated work time, programming, development time. And then once those kids are home, we really do try to shut it off unless there's an emergency or an important launch date. We really do sit down at dinner together each night. We make it a big effort to do that. And that helps both us to remember to shut things off and to really be focused on family. And then our kids know as well that that's that time they get with us, that we're not distracted, that we're not thinking about work, that we're really just focused on them. That's been really, really key for us.
That's great. I remember that fondly from my childhood, as we sat down to dinner every night, and it seems like people don't do that as often. So I'm glad to hear you are.
Yeah, thank you. Makes a big difference for us.
A bit.
Absolutely.
And then here's a fun question. If you did have more time, given everything you just described, what would you do with it?
Oh, well, like I said, I'm an outdoorsy person, so a lot more hiking. I would love, there's so much good hiking in Nashville, waterfalls, different things that you can hike to. I am very passionate about mushrooms. I know that you know this about me, and medicinal mushrooms as well as edible mushrooms. So I would be out learning as much as I could about those, as well as, herbs. And I honestly would love to become an herbalist at some point, just for fun, and really getting into a lot more natural healing, herbs and plants and things and mushrooms. Yeah. So I'd be out in the woods if I could.
I say that every day. Can you hook me up with some morel mushrooms?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm from Southern Illinois. That's morel. That's like the morel homeland there. So yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so what does one do because I read this online, at the Makata Mushroom Festival? What do you do all day with mushrooms?
Yeah. So that was in Southern Illinois, like I said, and that was prime morel season. So there were guided hikes where you were learning about identifying mushrooms, what to look for, how to identify anything that's poisonous, how to cook, different ideas of how to cook with different types of mushrooms. There was a wildflower hike and identification, and tree identification. That's very important when hunting mushrooms as well, because certain mushrooms only grow alongside of certain kinds of trees. So lots of nature, mushroom nerd talk, if you will. That's what happens there.
Well, who knew? I certainly did not, How do you see yourself making more time for that kind of thing now that things are back to normal and you're moving back to an office?
Right. Well, I'm getting out of that season where I have little kids, so we have 3, one's 14, he's in high school, but then we have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. So they're just very hands-on. It's very physical work having toddlers. So I feel like my time is starting to free up. They're getting more independent. They're getting into their own activities, sports, and different things. So hopefully, I'll have a little bit more free time here soon, just because I'm getting into that season where my kids are getting a little bit older and I don't have to be so hands-on.
Yeah. If you can do this without revealing anything that would identify them, can you tell us one of the stranger requests you've ever had for a website?
Oh, Well, I did have a very interesting meeting once, and I don't know how in detail I can go, but I did think that I was being punked. The product that was being developed was very unusual, a bit risque to even, and so when I was brought into this meeting I had to sign an NDA, I really thought that honestly that I was being joked by my old boss. I'm looking around for cameras and things,
right?
Because it was just such an unusual product. But it turned out to be a real thing, and we actually built the website. I can't go into more detail, but it was certainly unusual and not what I was expecting at all, and it was a lot to be able to kind of keep a straight face and I could not look at my boss during that meeting whatsoever. It was, sorry, that's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. And I can't give a lot more details. It was very unusual.
I understand.
Very unusual.
I understand completely. NDAs are a big part of my business too, and I often threaten to write a book someday, but I have to wait till a certain amount of people hit the planet,
Can't wait for it to come out.
That's right. And do you guys take family vacations?
We do. We love Siesta Key. We love Siesta Key. That is our place, our kids' favorite place. It's about an hour from Tampa, has a white quartz natural beach. It's just beautiful. That is absolutely our happy place.
And are you able to turn off your phones when you're down there?
For the most part. Yeah. Of course, we check at least once or twice daily for any type of emergencies. Our clients, a lot of them have been with us a long time, like you, Julie. So they know, they can text me if they need me right away. But they know how little we get that vacation time. So I think our clients are very understanding and respectful of that. And we're able to kind of check out for as much as we can during that time. Yeah.
Okay. And when you do that checkout, do you feel like you truly disconnect? I mean, really decompress?
It's really hard for me, because in the back of my mind, not only it's like the mom guilt, it's just the geek guilt, I guess, like, do my clients need me? Is there something that we're missing? I have to work through that a little bit. It's really hard for me to turn it completely off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Very dedicated.
Yes, you are. And your clients really appreciate that. I know. Identify for me or tell me describe, I guess is the word I'm looking for, an ideal client.
Okay. I think an ideal client would be someone who's looking for more of a partner, obviously, somebody that wants to work together towards their website goals, who isn't looking to just kind of throw everything on our plate and not be a part of that process. It's very much a team collaboration to get that website done, built, developed, and that messaging, everything to come through for the client. It's a team project. So I think it's someone who really wants to work together, who doesn't necessarily want to know how to make the sausage, but wants to know enough about the process and be a part of the process, that makes a really good working relationship. It really makes sure that we understand what they're trying to get out of the website. They understand what's gone into the website in order to reach those goals. Generally, it's also someone who's probably on their second or third website, although we do help people who are launching their first website. But generally, our clients have been, they're working on their second, third, sometimes even fourth or fifth website. So they've done this before. They've got a bit of experience. They've got a bit of a digital presence, and they really understand the expertise that we bring to the table.
Yeah. And I would think the communication you talked about earlier is so key both ways. That's two ways, from them and from you. And I think that's probably why you're so successful. You guys are amazing. You've done a great job with your business.
Thank you so much.
I do want to end here with a lightning round. I'm going to throw a couple of questions at you and you just give me a one-word answer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Number 1, window or aisle?
Window.
Dinner in or dinner out?
Dinner out.
Staycation or vacation?
Vacation.
Coffee. Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Mountains or the beach?
Beach.
Okay. If you had a time machine, what decade would you want to visit?
Ooh, 20s.
1920s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Any
Right.
period pieces I'm a huge fan of. Headed to the Downton Abbey movie today.
Exciting. Okay, good. Now, in closing, where can our listeners connect with you online?
Absolutely. So NashvilleGeek.com. You can visit our website, of course, see our portfolio of work there. And then you can link through from there to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're on all those platforms as well. Just look for Nashville Geek.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. My guest is Andrea Farr. She and her husband, Scott, own Nashville Geek. They'd love to hear from you, and I can guarantee you some great work on their end. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now for a tip for time well spent. Looking to bring more balance between your work and personal life? If you work from home, remember, out of sight, out of mind. Set clear boundaries between you and your work by closing your office door at the end of the day. If you work from an office, use your commute time to listen to a podcast or your favorite music to decompress from a busy day. This will help you transition into a relaxing evening full of time well spent.
Thanks for tuning in to Time Well Spent with Julie Hullett. This show is brought to you by Julie Hullett Concierge LLC, a personal concierge service in Nashville, Tennessee. Learn more at juliehullett.com.